Hello and welcome back to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audio fiction. This is the series The Truth Behind the Lie, written by Sheikah, narrated by Dawn myself. Hello! And this is part of Sheikah's Wednesday. So make sure you go and send her some love and check out all her information and other stories down below. Make sure you send me some love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it and what will happen next. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on other parts, other series that are coming, and other one-shots. And I hope you enjoy. Part 8. Gabriel stared at him from the far end of the dining table, fingers steepled and eyes speculative. "You said you had something important to discuss with me this morning regarding the spring formal photo shoot this weekend?" he asked. Adrian should have been happy. His father had breakfast with him finally. He was sitting in the same room and talking to him. But instead, Adrian was nervous and sweating. He was just about to suggest he model with Marinette instead of Lila. He had no idea how his father would react. He cleared his throat. "Father, I know how important the spring formal line is to the brand. I know you have been working on the concept of first love. I have been thinking, and Lila isn't the best choice to model the feature gown." "Is that so?" A raised eyebrow was the only visual response. Adrian swallowed. "Yes, Father. For one, Lila's hair is her most dominant feature, and it's my understanding that you would want someone with that complements your design instead of competing with it." "Interesting. Your other points?" He released a breath he wasn't aware he had been holding. This was going better than he thought it would. "Second, Lila's eyes look too mature for the softer girl next door look Natalie said you were working on. The model for this gown should look guileless and innocent. That would tie in well with your recent theme of first love." He felt his stomach tie itself into knots over the vagueness he was practicing with his father. Hair is her dominant feature, more like her lying tongue. Her eyes too mature? Ugh. Scheming is more like it. Oh, please let this convince him. His father leaned back in his chair, fingers still steepled, but his face was less stern. "You have brought up some good points, Adrian. I take it you have someone in mind to replace Miss Rossi?" "If I may, sir, I have pictures." He pulled out his phone and quickly loaded the album he had prepared with pictures of Marinette from the other day. He handed it to Natalie, who passed it to his father, her face as expressionless as ever. "That is Miss Dupang Chang," Gabriel said, eyes narrowed. "The Derby hat winner. Your class representative to the student council, I believe." Adrian was taken back. "How did you know that?" The smile on his father's face was superior. "It would surprise you the things I know, Adrian." Offhandedly, he turns off the phone and passes it back to Natalie. "She has blossomed and is certainly attractive enough, but she has no modeling experience." "Neither did Lila when you hired her, sir, and to be honest, I have more natural chemistry with Marinette than I could ever have with Lila. Marinette and I are good friends, and that creates a bond of trust that easily comes across on the screen. No editing required. Such trust is easily portrayed as love with the excellent directors and photographers you have me work with. It is my opinion that bringing in Marinette to model this gown for you would be more profitable for the line, the photo shoot, and the brand." He surreptitiously wiped his sweating palms on his jeans. As well as this was going, this felt worse than the recital he gave his father the day of the music festival. But Marinette was relying on him. He would not let her down. His father's face was still for a long moment, then a slight smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. It was not a look that inspired confidence. "I think you have made some very valid points, Adrian. Aesthetically, Miss Duban Chang would be more appropriate to model the feature gown, and these pictures do suggest a natural chemistry, as you said. Natalie, please prepare the standing modelling contract for minors and have it ready to go with Adrian to school. You suggested she join you, Adrian, so you will be responsible for gaining her parents' permission. Your time shall be cleared after school for this purpose. Is that understood? His heart skipped a beat as he let out a sigh in relief. Thank you, Father. Marinette will be amazing. You'll see. It will be the best shoot we've ever had. Yes, I'm sure bringing Miss Dupan Chang on board will be most advantageous. That smirk widened, and even though Adrian couldn't say why, he suppressed a shiver of dread. Marinette was waiting for him on the school steps, but he rushed her and grabbed her up in a hug, spinning her round before she could do more than smile at him. Adrian, what? Father said yes, he exclaimed, grinning so wide it hurt. You can model with me on Saturday, Marinette. Her mouth popped open in surprise, and her blue eyes were wide enough for him to fall into. No, what? Really? Adrian, how? Her voice kept getting higher with each word until the last was practically a squeak. I showed Father the pictures from the other day, and he said you were a more appropriate choice to model the feature gown for the spring line. Just imagine it, Marinette. We get to do a shoot together. It is going to be so much fun having you there. He hugged her tight around the middle, nuzzling his cheek against her stomach in an access of delight. Adrian, could you put me down, please? Marinette squeaked. That was when he realized that he had cried out his excitement for the whole world, and the 5 or 6 reporters skulking nearby to hear. He had scooped Marinette up in his arms, swung her round, and then cuddled her in public. He quickly put her down, pretty sure his face was as red as hers. Why did I do that? He thought, mentally kicking himself. I probably freaked her out. No wonder she started stuttering and blushing. Sorry about that, Marinette, he said, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. I didn't mean to startle you. I was just so excited about Saturday. It's okay, Adrian. Suddenly her eye snapped over to his left shoulder. Before he could turn around, her eyes locked on his with a subtle wink. Her face relaxed into a soft smile, and she curled herself lightly around his arms. I'm so happy, my prince, she said in a stage whisper. Now we'll be able to see each other over the weekend. That's when I miss you the most. His heart skipped a beat at her words and the soft, loving way she spoke them. She was putting him to shame in the relationship department just from this display alone. He was feeling hot despite the cool spring day, and the slight breeze and the arm she held tingled all over. He swallowed hard, unable to control his blushes as he felt a broad smile spread across his face. I miss you too, my sweet. Obviously, she doesn't miss you that much, came a silky voice from behind them. They both turned to see Lila coming towards them, phone in hand. What are you talking about, Lila? Adrian demanded, tightening his arms around Marinette, and fought against the urge to growl. Oh, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this, Adrian, Lila said, just loud enough to carry across the steps. But your sweet Marinette isn't quite as sweet and innocent as we all believe. Adrian could feel Plagg growling in his pocket. What are you going on about, Lila? Adrian replied in a surly tone. He could see Chloe getting out of a limo at the bottom of the stairs. If she got involved, this could spiral out of control faster than Plagg could run out of cheese. Oh, I thought for sure you would know, since you are such a fan of Ladybug, she purred. What? Marinette's voice started as a shriek and ended in silence. Lila pushed a button on her phone and turned the screen to face them both. It showed a video clip on the Ladybug. The video was taken at night, and the golden glow of the string of fairy lights illuminated a balcony as seen from the street. Marinette's balcony. Adrian couldn't help a smug smile spread across his face as he watched Cat Noir and Marinette appear, hug, and for the hero to kiss her hand before leaving. Lila stared at them with a small gloating grin on her face, completely unaware that she had played a 2 instead of an ace. Marinette has been keeping company with a certain black cat when you are busy with your modeling and lessons, Lila said sadly, wiping a pretend tear away from her eyes, though only a truly selfish, manipulative person would date 2 boys at the same time just because they were famous. Adrian threw back his head and laughed in relief. The crowd that had been slowly drifting over was surprised, clearly expecting one of the party to explode in angry denial, or tears, or possibly get akumatized over this. He felt Marinette relax in his arms, and a breathy laugh tickled his neck. "Seriously, Lila? Is that all you can come up with then? You might as well just give up now," Adrian replied, rubbing Marinette's shoulder to both reassure her and pull her closer. "Marinette and Cat Noir are friends. Well, as much as you can be with a superhero who can't tell you personal details. The few times he's rescued me, he is always asking about her." He glanced down at Marinette with a fond smile. "Adrian, I know you've lived a sheltered life, but you don't hug a friend like that or kiss her hand." Lila's voice had a chilled tone, and her eyes narrowed, flashing with barely suppressed anger at being foiled. Now it was Marinette's turn to laugh. "Cat Noir enjoys coming to the bakery for snacks," she chuckled. "And he may like to flirt, but he is completely 100% devoted to Ladybug. Why would he even think about me as more than a friend?" He couldn't help the squirmish knot of tension that formed in his stomach at her words, but he did his best to banish it. "Besides, Marinette's hugs are amazing. I can't blame Cat Noir for wanting one at the end of a long day, can you?" He could hear Lila's teeth grinding behind a sympathetic smile. Turning his back to Lila, he kissed Marinette lightly on the cheek. "Let's go, my sweet. Class will be starting any minute." They took 2 steps up and away from the enemy before an idea crossed his mind. "Oh, and Lila, you might as well take that bracelet you've been flaunting back to whatever pawn shop you got it from. My mum said bracelets only catch on things. That's why she never wore them." Marinette was getting a book out of her locker between classes when someone pushed her into the confined space. Rubbing her head where it hit the metal shelf, she turned to see Chloe glaring at her in a predatory manner. "I knew you had no taste in clothes, Messinette, but I always thought your taste in boys was your good point. Now that I find you cheating on Adricans with that mangy, no good, flea-bitten alley cat who dares to call himself a hero, why Adrian doesn't shake you off like the filth that you are is inconceivable." Marinette's temper flared. Chloe had bullied her ever since they were young, but for her to badmouth Cat Noir, her friend, her partner, her self-proclaimed champion, that tore it. She grabbed the girl by the front of her designer jacket, lifted her bodily, and set her down roughly on a bench. Towering over the shocked bully, she took advantage of the silence. "How dare you?" she said with a growl worthy of Cat himself. "How dare you insult Cat Noir? How many times has he saved your life, Chloe? Your precious daddy? Your mother's? How many times has he fixed your mistakes that were caused by your bad attitude or your bullying? Clean up your mess? Mangy? Flea-bitten? No good? How dare you?" Finally, over her shock at the victim's actions, Chloe crossed her arms and legs. "He's ridiculous, and so are you. He's nothing without Ladybug." "Ladybug is nothing without him," she yelled, her vision obscured by the red rage. "Ladybug would never have survived this long without him. Cat Noir is kind, selfish, gentle, forgiving, and brave. He is a hero in his heart without the mask, and whoever he is, I am proud to call him one of my dearest friends. And if I so much hear you speak his name with disrespect one more time, I will personally make sure you regret it. She leaned into Chloe's face and lowered her voice to a menacing hiss. Is that clear? Marinette? She felt a hand close on her shoulder. Senses heightened, she spun and grabbed the wrist of the person behind her. Come on, Marinette, Adrian said firmly but kindly. Let's go outside and get you calmed down. Still breathing heavily, she let him lead her outside. Adrian set off a brief text and then settled them down on the steps. Do you want to talk about it? She sighed. I shouldn't have lost my temper like that, but no one talks about my friends that way, especially Cat Noir. I mean, how many times does he have to save Paris before that brat shows him the smallest amount of respect? She clenched her fist tightly, trying to control her anger. She couldn't sit with all the energy still burning in her chest. Leaping to her feet, she paced back and forth along the steps. I mean, it's bad enough. Ladybug, Cat is just so... He doesn't even realize just how amazing he really is. And the people like Chloe tearing him down all the time. She spat out the name in disgust. She turned to Adrian with tearful eyes, hands outstretched in entreaty. Why can't they all just see that? Adrian pulled her into a tight hug. Just breathe, Marinette. It's okay. His arms were strong and gentle. Adrian had said her hugs were amazing, but this was like petting a cat. The way he rubbed his hands up and down her back soothed her ruffled temper as the scent of allspice and oranges clearing her mind of the last of the angry haze. She felt her shoulders relax as the anger stimulus faded away at his touch. She let out a shaky breath. Thanks, Adrian. Sorry I got so upset. I really should have learned to ignore Chloe by now, but... He pulled away a bit, but still holding her shoulders. It's okay, Marinette. Chloe is a bully, and the way she treats you is uncalled for. But can I just say that seeing you stand up for Cat like that was amazing? She blinked and expected a completely different response. What? You think so? The awe in his eyes assured her he did. Yeah, watching you go at her like that was kind of scary, and... His voice stopped abruptly as a red blush filled his face. And what? She asked tentatively, worried that she had freaked him out somehow. If anything, his blush darkened. Nothing important, but they can't stop my father from hiring you for a photo shoot, and that will shut Chloe up at the very least. I'm hoping it will give us some more time while Lila is scrambling to counter us. But even if it doesn't, you are braver and stronger than you give yourself credit for, Marinette. You're a hero, you know. She felt her own blush burn her cheeks in shame. I didn't act like one today, she said deprecatingly. I acted like a hothead. I didn't even think about the fake dating thing and trying to play into it. I just yelled at her. Even heroes aren't perfect, you know, and I know Cat Noir would appreciate knowing you care so much. She couldn't help the sheepish expression that spread across her face. Could we maybe not tell him about this? If he knew I got all defensive about him, I would never hear the end of it. His lips twitched slightly before bursting into a grin. He won't hear it from me, he replied. He held out his hand for her. I told Nino to tell the teachers that I was calming you down after Chloe's messed with you, but we should... His words were interrupted by a deafening roar as the earth began to shake itself apart. Thank you so much for listening to part 8 of The Truth Behind the Lies. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Make sure you smash that like button, comment down below what you think of it, And if you don't know what to say, just say Marinette's Wrath. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on future parts and other one-shots and other things to come. And just to let you know, there won't be a part next week. It will be back in the following week because there's a special Adrianette event happening. So I hope you're all good, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.